Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. So today, welcome to Google News Initiative Together with Data and on our very first webinar series, Fact-Checking COVID-19 Misinformation in Southeast Asia. So today's training will be done by myself, I'm Trina, and also Kuek Sir Kuang Keng, you can call him Keng. So to start off, first, basically, Google, so because this whole entire webinar series is funded by Google, and we all know what Google is, we use it every day without fail, right? So, and Google's mission is to organize the world's information into a usable and accessible content, right? And we use it for our work as journalists. We always look for information as part of our, what we do for our articles and research, right? And so under Google, there's Google News Initiative, which I'm sure some of you or maybe all of you here already know of. So it offered, last month we offered a lot of grants for newsrooms, but it also works with trainers like myself and Keng to train other journalists, our colleagues, on how to better report and efficiently, and to also look at how to produce quality journalism, right? And Data and meanwhile, the collaborator for today's workshop is actually an outfit that's based in Kuala Lumpur, and it's founded and run by Keng. And Data and basically does journalism training, consultancy, and newsrooms. So before that, I'm sure you've already read our bio in that longish registration form that you fill out. So I'm a freelance journalist. I've covered news in Malaysia for about almost 10 years now on politics, general news, business. Keng is a data journalist. He's a freelancer as well, and he does his own outfit, which works with many different newsrooms. So, and we'll try to keep today very concise and short so that we can end in exactly 45 minutes. And today you will focus on how do you identify COVID-19 misinformation. And we'll present to you a workflow that you could try to emulate when you encounter misinformation. How do you go about fact-checking it? And also the techniques and tools that you can use, which are all for free, to increase your efficiency and also do fact-checking in a very smart and fast manner. So, and what is misinformation, disinformation, hoaxes, or what we also know as fake news, right? It's essentially the false or inaccurate information, especially that is meant deliberately to deceive others. So we all know what it is, but when it comes to COVID-19, there are stuff also that we don't know about it yet because it's pretty, I think, relatively new. So what exactly is the source of the virus, right? People say some animals, slightly from bats, but we don't know 100% for sure. Who was patient zero? We just know it started in China, in Wuhan, but we don't know who exactly is patient zero. And what's the precise survival rate? Now, this is still debatable because every country has reported a different percentage of survival rate. But we also have a lot of experts out there who claims to know a lot about COVID-19 and has been regularly forwarding and sharing, quick fixes to ward off the virus, homegrown remedies that you can just do it yourself at home to cure the infection, and conspiracy theories about the origin of the virus. And these are the stuff that we have to be really, really careful about because that's where most of the misinformation begin. Now, the ones that we've commonly seen, the hoaxes that we've seen the last, I think, 3 or so months, is that we've seen a lot of source and spread of virus messages, like prevention and treatment, even videos about that, government responses and regulations, viral videos, and also messages or maybe images that target certain groups of people. It could, incite race, religion, nationality in terms of fear or hate. Now, the format of hoaxes that we've seen, I think all of us must have had at some point in the last 3 months gotten a text, right, about COVID-19, photo, a video, or an audio message, or even a screenshot, and you have accompanying claim involved as well. And we like to share this with you because we find that it's a very good formula. So this is done by First Draft, which is a US-based organization that does training on misinformation. So they have this thing where they call it sheep, right? And basically when you receive an information, what do? Think like a sheep. So S is about basically thinking about who the source is, right? Even if you don't know, try to find out. And because the next step is on history, right? Every source would probably have an agenda. So what is this person's agenda? Is it just purely, I am just looking to inform others and this is real, or it could be a right or left-leaning organization or person, right? Evidence. So we gotta like find out whether the claim is backed up in any way at all, right? Or it could be just a false claim. Emotion. So this is very, very common because most of the information that we receive would trigger our emotions in some way. And that's when we have to question and ask ourselves, right? If this is true or false. And lastly is pictures. So pictures convey a lot of things, but you could also read between the lines and understand that pictures could also be used to get attention, right? So think sheep before you share. Right, so the workflow that we've come up with for today is when you receive an information, be it in whatever format at all, ask yourself, are you emotionally triggered? Because often we just click forward on WhatsApp or share on Facebook or retweet on Twitter without really thinking, right? It's very fast, just 1 second, we just click and share. But before that, just halt yourself, give yourself like 3 to 5 seconds, just think, are you emotionally triggered in any way? If it falls under instigating fear, if it has remedies of prevention, if it's incite racial hate, then ask yourself again, could this perhaps be false? Now, so the second step then is to identify the claim in the text or video or audio that you receive and evaluate if you should spend resources to debunk them. Now, the reason why we say this is because sometimes, for example, on Facebook, you could see how often it was shared, right? It was shared 700 times. But you, as a news organization, decide to debunk it and then publish it, and your article on that debunk receives 30 or 40,000 views. So basically, you just amplify a form of misinformation, even though it was a debunked article. So then you got to think, whether or not it's worthwhile to actually highlight something that was not really widely shared. And so you should prioritize the claims that are likely to be taken seriously, most probably going to do harm, and something that you could really quickly verify and debunk. The third step is that if you do decide to debunk, you got to first find out if it has already been debunked by others, right? And they are fact-checking databases and other credible online sites like major news organizations that could probably be a bigger organization than yours who has already done the debunk. And don't worry if you guys can't keep up or write this down fast enough. We'll share a tip sheet at the end, and you could actually just go to the link and we'll insert all the steps in the tip sheet as well. And so the next step, so if step 3 doesn't yield you any results, then you have to do your own fact checking. So for text and audio, it's best that you find the origin of the information. I know it's difficult on WhatsApp, but on Twitter or Facebook, it's still possible to trace back to who started the whole entire share or tweet in the beginning, right? And then from there, you could try to determine the credibility of the information or the claim. So, and you could also search for the names and places mentioned in the text or audio. So if there's a person involved, then you could contact them to verify it. But if it's a place and it's somewhere that is within your beat of coverage, you could actually physically go there to find out if the claim, what is alleged to have happened, actually happened. Now, for images and video, for image, you can actually use reverse image search. I think maybe some of you have already heard about this or know about this. But for video, you could also do reverse image search. What you do is you screen grab the first keyframe, or you use this website called Invent to extract multiple keyframes and then do reverse image search on them. So, and then from the images and the video, you could also try to spot out the location, like street signs, store signs, and indicators like car plates, or even accents. So you could find a location and a time and date taken as well from images and video. So the databases that we know of, and we've compiled the list here, there are 6. So one is First Draft, second is the AFP Fact Check, Snopes, Pointer, WHO has a Mythbuster website, but it also has a WhatsApp channel as well. Next is that we've also compiled the country-based fact-checking sites in this region, and because you can see most of it is run by government. But if you know of any fact-checking websites in your country, well, you can also share it with us. We'll include it and expand it into the list, and we'll add it into the tip sheet as well. And so this is an example that I got from my mom. She WhatsApped this to me into the family chat group, and basically saying that you could do a self-test to see if you're infected with COVID-19, and just hold your breath for X number of seconds, right? So, and I actually also received this message from others as well. It's usually from your uncles, aunties, people of a certain age group. So I think this is a very easy debunk, and AFP quickly published an article on it. And sometimes it just doesn't take that long to search it on Google. And the second one that my mom sent to me was that I think most of you would have known and recognized this Dettol disinfectant. Probably a lot of you use it. So at the back of it, the label, actually, it does say that it fights coronavirus, right? But again, you can just Google it to find out whether the claim is true or not. So if you just do a simple Google, you could see that a lot of people have debunked it, and it shows that basically Dettol tested on the normal coronavirus, because coronavirus is the whole entire family, and COVID-19 is just one type of virus that's parked under the family of coronavirus. So Dettol's disinfectant fights common cold, but it has not been tested on COVID-19. Now, and this was worth a debunk by AFP because it got shared in just one Facebook post alone 44,000 times. And I'm pretty sure there were multiple Facebook posts and also the unaccounted for WhatsApp messages that were forwarded around. So we could probably assume that this has gone into the hundreds, if not millions of shares. Right, and so what we're gonna do is to also let you know that you could effectively use Google search, and you could narrow your search results, right, by using search operators. So without using search operators, I could just Google Dettol and COVID, for example. And you could still find a result, but you would have to it will probably be pushed down. Like in this case, it was the third result, right, or the second result, but because it's a very common one. But what if it's a lesser common claim that it could be pushed down to maybe at the bottom of page 1 or page 2? It wouldn't highlight immediately as your first 1 or 2 search results. But if you use search operators, like if you use quotation marks or cite double dot, like for this example, I use AFP Fact Check website because they have done many debunks on its website. So it immediately gave me the result I want, pushed up to the first result on the Google search engine. And if you want to know more about the search parameters, you could actually go to this bit.ly link, and we'll also dive deeper into this in next week's workshop on digital tools. So next week's workshop, we'll talk more about how do you effectively find Google search, use Google search parameters to not only find old articles, information, but also even documents. So if you haven't signed up for next week's workshop, it's a good time to do so now. And so what about websites that have sprouted out in the last few months with all sorts of COVID-19 claims, right? And so then we need to start checking the origin of information and its credibility, right? And most of these could be bloggers or just sites or social media accounts like Twitter, right? And we try to find the ones that reposted, but with attribution. So from that, we could actually go back and trace to the source. So, and we could also find blog or site owners, and we could look at identify their leanings by looking at their other posts, and then also search up their website registration details and see when the site was actually created. So this is an example of how COVID-19 is a bioweapon created by the military. So it's a claim that went viral, I think it really blew up in March. It was started by a really unknown and not often read website in India called Great Game India. So this blog post would have just died off if it weren't for the fact that a really famous blogger picked it up. So in this case, it was picked up by a blogger called Zero Hedge, and he's an American right-wing financial blogger who's really well known for posting unproven conspiracy theories. So when he reposted this and on his blog, it was picked up by many other bloggers and websites, right? And so then it got like hundreds of thousands of reads. So then what happened was, it was actually then later on debunked by an organization called NewsGuard, which is a New York-based nonpartisan organization specifically reviewing news sites to combat misinformation, right? And then it was published on Wired, which is a monthly magazine owned by Condé Nast. So we know that we looked up NewsGuard and we know Wired. So we know Wired is legit. We looked up NewsGuard, we looked at the About Us page, and we also found that okay, it's a legit website. And so from here, I would like to pass it on to Keng, who is going to present the next slide. Keng, you can go ahead. Keng, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Can you hear me now? All right. Okay, cool. I'm going to switch to my slides. All right. The next case study that I'm going to share with you, it's actually one story that I have seen in April. This was published 2 months ago. This story by this new website called UCRTV.com. I have never seen this website. So when it popped up, this story claims that the Royal Palace in UK confirms that Queen Elizabeth was tested positive for coronavirus. So this one, when I checked the website, it looks like a legitimate news portal. And the story was viral. It was shared over 150,000 times on Facebook. That was 2 months ago, right? After that, the numbers could have shot even higher. Right, and the report quotes a press release from the Buckingham Palace, right? So how do we know that, whether this is true or not, before we share it? A lot of people share it, because this is huge news, right? The Queen was tested positive. So I first, just like everyone else, I just have a look at the About Us part of the website, right? I want to know who are the people behind the website, right? Whether this is a legitimate website. And then the description at the About Us section is very vague, right? There's no name. The report has no byline. It doesn't even have a date and time. We don't know when was it published. And if you check, another simple thing to do is to check if this is something released by the Buckingham Palace. Then of course, all other news websites would have this story as well. But BBC has no such story, right? So I was 99% confirmed that this is a fake news, right? This is misinformation. But I want to take one step further to confirm it. So how do? I do a Whois lookup, right? What is a Whois lookup? Whois lookup is actually a method that allows you to check the ownerships, who owns the website, and also the registration details of a website. If you want to set up a website, a domain, we call it a domain, for example, www IamQueenElizabeth.com, for example, right? And you have to actually, submit your registration details, like your identity, your emails, and things like that, right? For you to register a domain and to have a website. And all this information, right? Unless they are intentionally hidden by the owner, they are usually made public, right? So you can check those registration details behind the website. So we call it a Whois lookup. So there are several free websites that allows you to do a Whois lookup. You can just Google about Whois lookup, and you will find several websites. Right here are just 2 examples. One is lookup.icann.org. The second one is whois.domaintools.ac.uk. .com. If the domain ends with your country code, for example, from Malaysia is .my, then usually there is an authority or there's a body in your country that has all the registration information about that domain as well. So if you are looking for a local website that has a country code at the end of the domain, then try to find out, who is the body, what is the body, the organization that regulates this kind of domain registration in your country. And from there, you'll be able to find more information about that domain. So I did a Whois lookup on this website, right? UCRTV.com. And what did I find? So what did I find? UCRTV.com was registered in Mombasa, Kenya. That is the first red flag, right? Like, this website is registered in Kenya, but it is reporting about something happening in the Buckingham Palace in UK. The second thing is that it was created on the 4th of March 2020. So it has a very short history, right? Less than 1 month when the story was published. So now it is very easy to judge it yourself, right? Is it a credible website, right? So in this case, of course, my guess is that someone trying to set up a website and trying to probably get some traffics and earn some online advertisement income from so-called coronavirus news, right? By creating this kind of false information that can become viral. So when people come to visit their websites, they are able to monetize the traffics by selling online advertisement. What if we get videos and image, on WhatsApps, on Facebook, on Telegram, Line, whatever social media platforms you are using, right? How do we fact check them? I'm going to show you 2 different examples using video. So this is the first, this is a video that I personally received, right, during the pandemic. It shows, I'll just play the video. All right, you can see the video. In the video is in like a place that looks like a restaurant, like a fast food restaurant, Korean restaurant, if you can see some Korean characters, right? And the lady fainted, right? And the lady was wearing a mask. And when I received the message, right, it was claimed that this happened in a nearby shopping mall. So of course, it is asking people don't go to that shopping mall because they were COVID-19 cases there. This video is the evidence, right? So how do I fact check this video? Whether it really happens in the mall nearby me or whether it is, it might happen in another country, right? So the first thing I did is I do a reverse image search, right? I take a footage, I screen cap the video and try to search online, and it didn't return any result, which means that it could be a new video. Nobody has uploaded on internet. Nobody has uploaded any images on internet yet. So I need to geolocate the video. Geolocate here means that I need to find out where this video was taken. So I look at the video, I play it in slow motion, look at all these different characters, and I saw one thing that might help me, which is the $sign, right? It says the $790, right? So I was guessing that this might happen in Malaysia and in Singapore and Indonesia, right? And here I know that in Malaysia and Indonesia, they don't use the $sign. So, but Singapore does, right? And there's another thing is that this raboki, I have no idea what is raboki. My Korean is bad. I cannot recognize the Korean words. I'm not familiar with Korean food. So I just, Google, raboki $790. And I was able to find that, there was a promotion by a chain restaurant. It's called Jinja Chicken. I've never been to Jinja Chicken as well. This is the first time I heard about it. And I then searched about Jinja Chicken Singapore. Okay, so thank God, there are only 4 Jinja Chicken restaurants branches in Singapore, which means I just have to check 4 of them, to see whether this video was taken in any one of those 4 restaurants. So on Google Map, if you click on a restaurant, usually people would leave a lot of reviews, and then some of them would post photos of that restaurant as well. So I just try to match, the photos on Google Maps with the images with all the restaurant settings in the video. So then so on the wall, you can see on the yellow color wall, there's this printing, and then I can see the same on Google Map. This is the first evidence. The second one is that the same screen also appeared, the same screen in the video, it also appears in one of the photos uploaded by users on Google Map. So I can confirm that this restaurant is the Ginger Chicken Brunch in Clementi, Singapore. I also checked all other 3 restaurants. The setting was different. So this is the only one that has these 2 settings, in that restaurant. So the next thing is I search about, Singapore ginger chicken, Clementi, and I searched lady fainted, right? And I was able to find that, okay, there was this story. This story was reported, and when I found the story, when I got the video, the story only happened like a day before. So it was not surprising that the video was not on internet yet, right? People are just circulating on WhatsApp. So I read the story and confirmed that this happened in Singapore, not in a nearby shopping mall. And this is not a COVID-19 patient. Nobody knows that, right? So she fainted, and then she was later sent to the hospital. And after that, there was no more story about whether she was tested positive or negative, right? And that's it. That's the end of the story. But I was able to confirm that this case did not happen in a nearby shopping mall, right? This happened in Singapore. Okay. The second study case is another story that I got. This is from one of my family members. So he sent me and told me that you see, this video has an underlying racial tone. So in Malaysia, right, during we call it the partial lockdown in Malaysia, we call it the Movement Control Order, MCO. It bans all mass praying and religious gatherings. So all the mosques, the masjid are closed. You can't enter the mosque for praying, right? So then this video circulated. You can have a look. So again, the message that came together with this video claimed that this happened in Malaysia, in one of the mosques in Malaysia. So the story went like this, right? These people, they are publicly defying the ban, defying the movement control order, and there was this huge notice that was hanging at the mosque, telling people that the mosque has been closed for any mass praying sessions, right? But these people, they were not happy, and they went ahead and took down the notice, and and they were shouting, slogans and things like that, right? So is it true that this happened in Malaysia? That is what I'm trying to confirm. And when did it happen? Was it a recent thing that is related to the pandemic, or maybe it was an old video recirculated, right? If you can understand Bahasa Indonesia, later I found out, of course, that this video came from Indonesia. But if you can understand Bahasa Indonesia, right, the audio, right, the slogans that they were shouting might give you some very good clues. You don't have to go to do any video or image search. But for me, right, I am not a native language. I'm not native speaker in Bahasa or Malay. I have to rely on the visuals, right? Because some friends also told me that one of the protesters, they actually mentioned the name of a mayor in Indonesia. So if you recognize that name, you know that this happened in Indonesia. But for me, no, was not the case, right? Because I couldn't really understand the language, right? So on the wording, so I will try to zoom in and look at the words, the wording on the notification, on the banner. And I can only recognize the title maklumat, right, which means information in Bahasa. It is the same word used in Malaysia as well as in Indonesia. So it doesn't tell me whether this is in Malaysia or this is in Indonesia, right? So what I did is that I did a reverse image search, right, using the keyframes from the video. So how do we do that? So you can use a tool called Invit. This is a plug-in for Chrome, right? So you have to go to find Invit. Later we will share with you a tip sheet, and there's a link in the tip sheet where you can install the plugin into your Chrome browser. So if you have this plugin, you can just upload the video, and the plugin will automatically extract different frames, right, from the whole video. And you can search in the internet using these frames to see whether there are similar images, appeared on other websites on the internet, right? Or if you don't want to use Invit, right, you can just open the video and you do a manual screen capture. Usually I will screen grab the first frame, right? Because usually the first frames is used by news website in their story, right? Because what we want to find here is that whether this incident shown in the video has been reported by some news website, or it has been uploaded to the internet, published to the internet by someone else, in the past, right? That is our objective of doing a reverse image search. So once you have you screen cap the screenshot or screen cap the first frame, then you can use the reverse image search. There are several tools to do that. One of them is Google Images. So the URL is images.google.com. You go there, you click on the small camera icon. You click on it, and you are able to upload an image and search by using the image, right? So before this, usually when we use Google, we type a text to search by text. But Google Images allows you to search by using images. So here you can upload an images, or you can, if the image is already online, you can paste the image URL to search for that image, right? So if one tip here is that if you are doing this image reverse search on mobile, if you go to images.com, google.com on your mobile phone, it doesn't show you the camera icon, right? In that case, you have to click on your mobile browser and ask to request for desktop site, right? Which means that it shows you the desktop version of Google Images, right? Not the mobile version, because the reverse image search is not available on the mobile version. Okay. So once I upload my images, the first screen capture of the video, and Google will shows me, a series of images that are similar to the image that I uploaded. But still, I cannot find any similar images here, right? You can look at all the results here on the screen, right? All of them are actually different, right? They are not similar to what happened in my video, right? So there's a trick here. The trick is that sometimes you need to put in a keyword, right, in the search bar, so that it is to help Google to locate, to narrow down the search results. So what I did here is that I put in the word masjid, right? Masjid means mosque in Malay or in Bahasa Indonesia. So why I don't put in the word mosque, right? Because I was suspecting that this might happen in Malaysia or Indonesia. In these two countries, right, this kind of stories, might be reported by media in Bahasa or media in Malay, right? And they would use the word masjid instead of mosque. So I put the word masjid, together with the image and do the standard and enter and search again. And then, boom, I was able to find at least 3 images, 1, 2, 3 that are, which shows that what is happening, the incident that happened in the videos that I got, right? So I just click on one of the images, right, and it shows me the stories about the images, the stories, the news that were published that use the frame from the video, right? And this, then I was able to confirm that this case actually happened in Bandung in Indonesia on the 20th of March 2020, and not in Malaysia as claimed in the message that I received. So fact check, right? So in this case, reverse image search is really a very powerful feature, right, that you can use. Sometimes, right, if you cannot find the image on Google Images, right, it doesn't mean that the image doesn't exist on internet. It just means that it is not being indexed, or it is not being found by Google. Right? You can try other reverse image tools. I've listed out here Yandex. Yandex is very good. If you are dealing with photos from the East Europe, Russia, or Europe, right? You have Bing, you have TinEye, you have Baidu. Baidu, of course, is for you to search the internet in China. RefEye is a browser plugin. If you install RefEye on your web browser, you are able to just right-click on the picture and click reverse image search. It will search your image on all 5 different platforms. It will open up Yandex, Google image search, Bing, TinEye, and Baidu, and search your image on all these platforms. So you're able to look at all the results on different search engines, right? Right, and that's the end of what we're going to share with you today. So we also prepared several tip sheets that we can share with you. Unfortunately, we are not able to share with you the slides, and I don't think the slide is very helpful as well, because things might get outdated very soon. So we decided that we will share with you a more concise version of what we have been talking today. The first is a tip sheet from us. So I'll give you a few seconds for you to jot down the link, or the easiest way is for you to take a quick photo of this slide or do a screen capture of this slide. Right, you can access this tip sheet on the URL bit.ly/factcheckgni. All right, 1, 2, 3. Second one. This is another tip sheet from First Draft. As mentioned by Trina just now, First Draft is an organization based in the US. They do trainings, not just trainings, but also research on misinformation. So their tip sheet is a list of tools that can help you to do fact checking, right? The URL is bit.ly/firstdraft toolkit, right? So take a picture or take a screen cap. 1, 2, 3. Next one. The last tip sheet that we want to share is from our friend, Owen Sweeney, who is also our trainer. So he actually trained Trina and I so that we can train the journalists in our region, right? So he is our guru and guru. He's a great guru, right? So he has put together a collection of tools that can help you to do open source investigation. In short form is OSINT. OSINT stands for Open Source Investigations. So his website is osintessentials.com. All right, take a photo, screen cap. 1, 2, 3. All right, so thank you very much. It's 3:44. Cool, we managed to finish it 1 minute earlier. So now it's the questions times. And also, we have a feedback form. You can use your phone to scan the QR code to fill up the form, or you can just go to the URL tinyurl.com/ and the series of alphabets form, telling us what do you think is good, is bad about our webinar, so we can improve it and make it better for our next webinar. Tomorrow we are going to have the same webinar. It's going to be the same content, but delivered in a different language, right? It will be in Bahasa Melayu, Malay, which is slightly different from Bahasa Indonesia. And on today is Tuesday, Wednesday. On Thursday same time, 3 p.m. Kuala Lumpur time, we are going to deliver the same webinar in Mandarin. All right, 中文. All right, let's look at. I'm going to stop sharing my slides, and we are going to look at some questions. So just now there was one question about Whois. If the website information registration details is not available from Whois, is there any other way to go about it? Sorry, the answer is no. If it is not on Whois, if they are able to pay for the agent, the registration agent, to hide their details. So if they do that, then there's no way for you to find the registration details. Yeah.
So on the second question, it was talking about, whether or not we should a hoax. So I think that this is something that you need to evaluate. So I'm not saying don't do any debunks at all, because we did mention in the workflow on the second step, which is, if you realize that the claim is likely to be taken seriously, in the sense that, it was widely shared. So if something has been shared several hundred times and you don't see any other posts on social media or blogs or any website amplifying that claim, then you know that this has been basically, captured in a bubble and only like maybe 500 people saw it, right? But as opposed to just say you saw a Facebook post that's been shared 40,000 times or 100,000 times, or even a Facebook post that was shared 700 times, but it was linked to another Facebook post that was shared like 100,000 times. And you know that the claim it could be taken seriously and it could do harm. But it is also very easy to debunk it. Then by all means, the responsible and ethical thing to do is to actually debunk the hoax. So because of the widespread that you see that it's being amplified on social media. So I think this is a judgment call that the news organizations have to make. So I would say that's something that's being shared by my mom to like 20 other people. I wouldn't see any point in debunking it unless I know that 10,000 or 50,000 people are also sharing the same thing. That was the case for that's all, or even the holding your breath, or like I have a relative who knows a friend who went to Wuhan for research and found out that this actually works. Ginger works to cure COVID-19, stuff like that. So I think that when you see that it's being spread so widely, then obviously a debunk is necessary.
All right, I'll just take on another question by Mike. What are the monitoring tools you use to capture all this misinformation, right? All right, there is so it depends on what platforms you want to monitor. For example, for Facebook, right, you can actually use a tool by Facebook. It's called CrowdTangle. It is only available for news organizations. However, it is not available for the public. But you are able to go to there's a plug-in version for CrowdTangle, which allows you to see how many times an article or a URL has been shared on Facebook. So this is actually a social media analytic tool that allows you to monitor, whether some Facebook posts have extraordinary traffics, in terms of engagement, in terms of shares and things like that, right? So from there, it can help you to know whether this post or this website, this web page, has gone viral, and it can help you to decide whether you want to debunk it or not, right? So CrowdTangle. And of course, other social media analytics tools that you can use. There are so many of them out there. Some are free, some are paid, right? So if you use them to monitor, for example, that my workflow is like this. I would, after some time, I would know that those are some of the pages that like to spread misinformation. So I would just monitor all these pages, right? For example, some Facebook groups or some Facebook pages, right? And I will set up my social media tools to monitor them. So whenever there is I set some criteria, right? Whenever there's an extra, like the posts have received extraordinary traffics or engagement, I would get an alert, and I would look at the post. If I know that this is something that is fake, then I would try to track, who started it and try to fact check it. So that's my workflow, right? I will monitor certain pages that I know. Next questions. Trina, you want to go ahead?
Sorry, what's the next question?
No.
Yeah, besides, I think Mike asked, right, he's using TweetDeck at the moment. So I think next week we'll go into other sort of monitoring tools that you would have besides TweetDeck and CrowdTangle. So I think we can dive into that next week. But if you just very briefly, I think besides CrowdTangle and TweetDeck, there's also Nuzzle. Nuzzle is also free. If you don't belong to any newsroom, you're a freelancer, you don't have access to CrowdTangle. But Nuzzle works similarly with like how it does on TweetDeck. But I find Nuzzle probably a bit more fancier looking, like it's more seamless. So, but more or less it's about the same. So the next question is by Imran.
Yeah, so how much time do I normally take for one process cycle? So it depends, right? If so for me, my first step is always, Google it first, right? Because if others have debunked it, others have fact-checked it, you just have to cite what others have done, other fact-checkers have done, and that's it. You don't even have to do fact-checking. As for new rumors or locally circulated messages that were not fact-checked by any international organizations, usually it would take me like 15 minutes if it's a reverse image search. So what I do is I actually do everything on my phone, right? I can do it on the go. So what happens is that if I got a video, I just play the video, pause it, I'll screen cap the video, save it in my photo in my phone, and I'll just open Google image search, right? Remember, when you open up Google image search on your handphone, it doesn't show you the image search icon. You need to request the desktop side. So request the desktop side, upload the photo that I screen cap from my video, and just go do a reverse image search, and if I can find any photos that have been published by other publications, then I will be able to know whether this is an old photo or this is, and what is the incident about in that video. So that the whole process usually take me about like 15 minutes. But the hardest one is there's those videos that you cannot find anything similar on internet, then that is hard. So for example, the first case study I show you that the lady fainted, right? That one, because the image was not online. So I have to actually geolocate the video. That took maybe close to 1 hour because I have to watch the video slowly, Google search it, and I found 4 branches, right? 4 restaurant branches. So I have to look at all the reviews in all those 4 restaurants and to see which one is actually similar to the one that I received on my message. So that might take me a longer time. So it depends on, but the more you do it, the faster, the more efficient you get. So we actually share our workflow in our tip sheet as well, right? Like step by step, right? There's a question asking whether you can share the tip sheets. Yeah. Of course, it is public. We make the link public, so you can share with anyone that you like.
Also, there was another question on whether these techniques work for South Asia or in any language in any region in the world. I think it's basically universal. I don't think it's specific to any region or language at all. So we've seen this sort of workflow method being applied by journalists from different parts of the world. I think one good example that you could look at, website that you could look at for other examples, but they are more complex videos, more complex, difficult images would be Bellingcat. I think Mike mentioned in the comments, Bellingcat is a very good resource, but they also do this professionally. So a lot of times the videos that they debunk are incredibly hard to do so, but they managed to do it. So they do that in multiple different languages. So they could get videos from like, Europe in like Russian or like Iranian, and they have done debunks on those as well. So the other version, so Imran asked the other website, there is another version that's similar. I think I say it's similar to TweetDeck. It's also free. It's called Nuzzle, Nuzzle. We'll go into Nuzzle as well next week in our digital tools webinar.
Yeah, so next week we are going to talk about digital tools, and we will include some of those tools that might be helpful in doing social media monitoring, in investigating people online and things like that. Right, if there's no more questions, we'll wait for another 1 minute or half a minute like that. If no more questions, then we are going to end our webinar. And we hope to see you guys again next week. And remember, please fill up the feedback form. We really appreciate your feedback so that we can do it better next time. And also in the feedback form, you are able to tell us, what are the other topics that you wish that we can cover in the future. Because, I mean, during this time, everyone is staying at home. We hope, that we can do more this kind of webinars to share with you some of the tools, some of the skills, techniques that can help you to improve your workflow, to improve your efficiency, and to help you to produce better reporting. Yep, this video will be published on YouTube, so you can always come back and watch this video, no problem.
Keng, do you want to take the last question? There is one more question.
I didn't. Okay. Okay. What's the value of checking those facts? You didn't benefit from those process. How can keep doing fact check? Well, if you are a journalist, fact checking is part of our responsibility. If you are news organizations, because as journalists, our duty is to inform the public so that they are well informed and they can make the best decisions for themselves. So fact checking is actually is a very important part of our job of journalism. And why fact checking become a thing recently is because of the internet and because of the speed how misinformation and disinformation was spread very quickly, through digital platforms, and not just digital platforms, but using digital technologies as well. So as journalists, we need to learn what are the also tools as some digital techniques that able to help us to fact check all this information as efficient as possible. We have been doing fact checking for since the very beginning of journalism, I guess. When politicians claim something that is not true, we call them out. And when there are misinformations going on, we're trying to clarify them by asking people who know the truth or by clarifying with authorities. So yeah, it's just part of our job as journalists. So I guess you are not journalists. That's why you're asking this. But for journalists, it's something that it comes, just very natural, right? All right. So I think thank you very much, everyone. Is there any questions that we didn't answer, Antrina?
No, I think we're good. I think that's about it.
All right. It's almost 4. So thanks everyone for coming. And I think
thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So see you next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.